Imagine buying just a totally high-performance sports car.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Right. But then you park it in your driveway, and instead of, taking it out to the track to see what the engine can actually do, you just sit there.
Sitting in the driveway.
Yeah, exactly. You're just sitting there staring at the dashboard, obsessing over how much gas it burns while it just idles.
Which is obviously ridiculous.
Completely ridiculous. You would be totally missing the point of the machine. But if we look at the core analysis we are digging into today for this deep dive, that is exactly what top-tier law firms are doing.
And frankly, massive corporations across dozens of industries, too.
Yes, exactly. They are doing this with their information technology departments every single day.
Every single day. It's wild.
Because for decades, the standard operating procedure has been to view IT as this, well, a necessary evil.
Right. It's treated as this heavy, burdensome line item on the budget.
Exactly. And the only tangible return anyone expects from it is just, keeping the lights on. It's categorized strictly as a cost center.
Something to be managed, minimized, and basically just tolerated.
Tolerated, right. Okay, let's unpack this. Because that defensive keep the lights on mindset is exactly the foundational flaw we need to expose today.
It really is. And it's a remarkably common trap. I mean, the entire mindset around technology in these traditional partnership model environments, it's fundamentally defensive.
Defensive how? Exactly.
Well, you are spending capital on on-premise servers, software licenses, help desk support, merely to ensure that your baseline operations do not collapse.
Just trying to stay afloat.
Right. You are paying to not lose ground, rather than paying to gain ground.
Ah, that makes sense.
And when leadership views technology exclusively through that defensive lens, the natural institutional reflex is to just squeeze that budget as tightly as possible.
Because if it's just a cost, you want the cost to be zero.
Exactly. You minimize the investment because you do not see a multiplier effect on the other side. You only see the expense of the fuel. You don't see the velocity of the vehicle.
Man, that's such a good way to put it, the expense of the fuel. The argument we are looking at suggests that treating your IT merely as a cost center isn't just a missed opportunity, it is an active liability. It is holding these firms back from scaling.
What's fascinating here is how clearly the operational damage of that idling sports car mentality manifests in the real world.
Right. It's not just theoretical.
Not at all. In a rapidly evolving legal landscape, relying on defensive IT is a recipe for obsolescence.
So they have to change or they die.
Basically, yeah. The core thesis of our source material is that IT must be fundamentally reimagined from the ground up. It can no longer be about maintaining the status quo.
And it has to be elevated, right?
Yes. Elevated from a mere cost center into a bona fide profit driver. It needs to be recognized as a strategic asset.
A strategic asset. I like that.
And when an organization actually makes that mental shift, the IT infrastructure transforms the firm into a lean, efficient, and highly profitable operation. It is about moving from maintenance to momentum.
Okay, momentum sounds great in a boardroom, but what does that transition actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon for, say, a paralegal or a junior associate?
Right, where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. If we want to turn that idling engine into a profit driver, the obvious first step is to stop the bleeding.
The time bleeding, yeah.
Yeah. And by bleeding, I mean the absolute hemorrhage of time and resources spent on manual administrative friction.
It is staggering how much time is lost there.
It really is. And this brings us to the first major operational shift from the text, embracing automation.
Automation is key.
Now, anyone who has worked in a complex professional service environment knows the pain of repetitive workflows.
Oh, absolutely. It's agonizing.
We are looking at a standard workflow that completely consumes the valuable time of highly compensated professionals. We're talking document generation, complex calendaring across multiple jurisdictions.
Processing client intake forms.
Yes, client intake. And running foundational research queries. It's just endless manual work.
And to understand why those specific tasks are such a critical point of failure, we have to look at the mechanics of legacy legal tech.
Okay, walk me through that.
Well, take document generation. In a traditional firm, this usually involves an associate opening an old file from a local network drive, making a copy, and then manually using find to replace to swap out names, dates, and specific clauses.
Which is just begging for a mistake.
Completely. And calendaring involves a paralegal manually cross-referencing physical court schedules with multiple attorneys' Outlook calendars.
Jumping between incompatible software platforms, probably.
Exactly. And client intake requires a human being to read a PDF and manually type that exact same information into a totally separate billing database.
So they are basically just acting as a human bridge between two bad software programs.
That's a perfect way to describe it. These are deeply mechanical, highly repetitive processes.
And when human beings perform highly repetitive, mechanical processes, error creeps in.
Inevitably.
And we aren't just talking about typos here. We are talking about, an exhausted junior associate at 2 in the morning accidentally migrating an outdated indemnification clause into a new $50 million merger agreement.
Which exposes the firm to massive liability.
Massive.
Precisely. The human brain is incredibly well suited for high-level strategic analysis, but it is terribly suited for executing the exact same rote task 1,000 times in a row without degradation in focus.
We just get bored and tired.
We do. And this is where automation shifts from being convenience to being a critical risk mitigation tool.
Risk mitigation, right?
We are talking about deploying workflow automation via APIs, application programming interfaces, that allow disparate software systems to talk to each other seamlessly.
So the human doesn't have to be the bridge anymore.
Exactly. We are talking about AI-powered tools and cloud-based integrated practice management software.
Okay, but let me push back on the implementation of this for a second.
Sure.
Because the analysis claims that fully automating or significantly streamlining these tasks isn't science fiction, that it is highly achievable right now.
It is.
But if we actually automate all of this, like if an API is instantly porting client data into the billing software and an AI is generating the initial draft of the merger agreement, aren't we just making legal staff obsolete?
That's the fear, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if I am a paralegal listening to this, doesn't this sound like the partners are just buying an algorithm to take my job?
That is the immediate reflexive concern, but it fundamentally misunderstands the mechanism of value in a professional services firm.
Okay, how so?
The objective here is not about replacing human capital. It is entirely about shifting human capital to where it generates the highest return.
Shifting, not replacing.
Exactly. These automated tools are not designed to practice law. They are designed to handle the friction of practicing law.
Ah, the friction. The busy work.
Right. When you deploy strategic IT solutions to handle the mechanical data transfer, you completely change what your people are capable of executing during their billable hours.
So walk us through the mechanics of that shift. How does the day-to-day reality actually change for these people?
Let's break it down by role. Take the administrative and support staff.
Okay.
Because of integrated practice management software, secure client portals can now capture intake data and automatically populate the firm's relational databases.
So nobody is manually retyping PDFs anymore.
Exactly. The staff is completely freed from the endless cycle of manual data entry.
Wow.
Instead of spending 5 hours a day acting as a human transcription machine, their time is shifted to client relations.
Oh, that's huge.
They are actively managing the human beings who are relying on the firm, providing a concierge level of service that drastically improves client retention.
Right, because people want to talk to a human when they're stressed about a lawsuit.
Exactly. Now consider the associates. Because AI-powered tools are handling the baseline document generation by pulling approved up-to-date clauses from a central repository.
A repository that's dynamically updated, right?
Yes, dynamically updated. Those highly trained lawyers are spending zero time formatting margins or updating dates.
They aren't fighting with Microsoft Word all day.
Precisely. Their time is shifted entirely toward high-value legal analysis. They are structuring the strategy of the M&A deal.
Which is exactly what the client is paying for.
Exactly.
I mean, a massive corporation isn't paying an $800 hourly rate because they want a junior partner to spend 3 hours wrestling with a PDF converter.
No, they would be furious if they knew that.
Right. They're paying for the legal strategy. So if we look at the ultimate result of this shift, when you integrate automation, you get increased billable hours because the lawyers are actually doing billable legal work.
And you get reduced operational costs because the processes are lean.
Yeah, and you eliminate those catastrophic human errors in the foundational documents we talked about.
The machine does the machine work.
The humans do the human work. And the firm becomes far more productive.
It repairs the internal engine of the business. It ensures that every ounce of cognitive effort being expended by the staff is actively moving the firm forward.
Rather than just spinning the wheels on administrative friction.
Exactly. This is how IT transitions from a system that just maintains the status quo into a system that actively maximizes the firm's most expensive and finite resource.
Which is its people's time.
Right.
Okay, so automation fixes the internal engine, it makes it run incredibly smoothly, and it gives the lawyers their time back.
It does.
But time is just capacity, right? If you have a perfectly tuned engine and a full tank of gas, you still need to know where you are driving.
You need a map.
Exactly. How do they know where to direct that new capacity to actually make money? And that brings us to the second major operational shift from the source material, leveraging data analytics.
Yes, this is where things get really transformative.
The analysis refers to this as the hidden gold mine, pointing out that firms generate a staggering amount of data every single day.
Just massive amounts of data.
I'm talking client information, case outcomes, billing records, marketing campaign performance. But in most traditional firms, all of this data just sits there. It is totally dormant.
And the reason it sits dormant is a direct downstream consequence
Yeah.
of that old cost center mentality we talked about at the start.
Oh, because they aren't looking for value in the IT systems.
Exactly. If IT is just there to ensure the on-premise servers don't crash, then data is just viewed as a byproduct of doing business.
Just exhaust from the engine.
Right. It is just dead weight taking up space on a hard drive. Client information is treated as a static contact card.
Case outcomes are just closed files sent to the archives.
And billing records are just receipts for the accounting department.
Right.
When you view IT purely defensively, you lack the architectural infrastructure to see the connections between these disparate pieces of information.
They're all separated.
The data is entirely siloed in legacy systems that cannot communicate with one another.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Let's hear it.
If I am running a firm, or honestly managing a division in any large corporation, I know I have these digital filing cabinets totally full of this data.
Sure.
We have 15 years of billing records, 10 years of case outcomes. But wait, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Always.
If the historical data is just handwritten associate notes scanned as messy PDFs from 2014, how does a modern AI or analytics tool even read that? What is the actual mechanism that turns those dead siloed files into actionable strategy?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the transition from dormant, messy data to actionable strategy happens through advanced synthesis.
Advanced synthesis.
First, strategic IT utilizes a centralized architecture, often called a data lake.
A data lake.
Right. A data lake ingests all of that raw data from those legacy silos, the 15-year-old billing software, the modern CRM, the scanned PDFs,
All of it dumped into one place.
all of it. And to address your point about the messy PDFs, modern IT doesn't just use basic OCR.
OCR, that's optical character recognition, right?
Yes, OCR just sees shapes and guesses letters. It's very basic. Modern systems use NLP, natural language processing.
Oh, okay. How is that different?
NLP actually understands semantic context.
Really?
Yes. It can read a scanned associate's note and understand the difference between a motion to dismiss being granted versus being denied, even if the phrasing is informal.
Wait, so it's essentially acting as a universal translator.
That is a perfect way to conceptualize it.
Wow. It's taking the distinct dialect of the accounting software, the distinct dialect of the marketing software, and the messy dialect of human notes, and translating them all into a single, unified language that the firm's leadership can actually read.
Exactly. And once that data is synthesized and translated into a unified environment, the firm can stop managing by intuition and start asking high-level strategic questions.
Because the data can actually answer them now.
Right. The analytics can actually provide objective statistical answers. And according to the analysis, there are 4 specific critical capabilities that this level of data synthesis unlocks.
Let's go through them.
First, it allows the firm to understand exactly which practice areas are genuinely the most profitable.
Which seems so incredibly basic. You know, you would assume a multi-million-dollar firm already knows what is profitable.
Would assume, but often they don't.
Right, because without that deep data synthesis, they might just look at their corporate law division, see that it brings in the highest top-line gross revenue, and assume corporate law is our best division, let's hire more corporate
A
lawyers.
very common mistake.
But the analytics tools might synthesize the billing records with the operational costs, like that hidden administrative friction we talked about earlier.
Yes, the unbillable time.
Exactly. And reveal that the profit margin on corporate law is actually razor thin because it requires so many unbillable hours to execute.
Meanwhile, maybe their intellectual property division brings in less total gross revenue, but the profit margin is massive because the workflows are highly efficient.
And you cannot see that operational reality without the data synthesis.
Exactly. You're moving from intuition-based management, which is often flawed by ego or legacy
Not
assumptions,
it.
to evidence-based management. Now, the second capability unlocked is identifying trends in client acquisition.
Okay, so knowing where the clients actually come from.
Right. By cross-referencing demographic client information with historical marketing performance and intake channels, the analytics can reveal exactly where the highest lifetime value clients are actually originating.
So you stop guessing what works.
You stop guessing entirely.
Right, and that feeds directly into the fourth capability from the text, which is optimizing marketing spend.
Yes, they are deeply connected.
Because if you finally know your truly profitable practice areas and you know the exact channels driving your best client acquisition, you can direct every single marketing dollar with laser precision.
You aren't just buying a billboard on the highway.
Or running generic digital ads and hoping for the best. You are deploying capital where the algorithm proves there is a return.
It's transformative.
Ah,
But the third capability, and we skipped it for a second there, is perhaps the most profound shift in the entire industry.
okay, lay it on at me.
Predicting case outcomes with greater accuracy.
Wow.
This is where the technology moves from operational efficiency to fundamentally altering the practice of law itself.
Altering the practice of law. How?
By analyzing massive data sets of historical case outcomes. The system cross-references the specific judge's past rulings, the jurisdiction's historical leanings, the specific type of claim.
It even looks at opposing counsel, right?
Yes, it can analyze the opposing counsel's track record of settling versus going to trial.
That is insane.
Predictive analytics tools can identify statistical patterns that a single human lawyer could never spot across tens of thousands of historical files.
Because no human can read that fact or remember that much.
Exactly. It provides the firm with a statistical probability of success, a projected timeline, and an estimated cost before they ever file the initial paperwork.
Before they even file. So what does this all mean?
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. We have journeyed through this massive structural paradigm shift today. We started with this deeply entrenched, outdated mindset where information technology was viewed as a necessary evil.
A painful line item on the budget.
Right, a budget drain that only existed to keep the servers humming. But we have seen how elevating IT to a strategic asset fundamentally rewrites the DNA of the business.
It really does.
It is about utilizing automation to eliminate the friction of manual tasks, shifting human capital so that your highly paid professionals can focus on the high-value strategic analysis that actually drives revenue.
And it is about utilizing data analytics, building those data lakes, and using NLP.
Right, to take a dormant mountain of daily data and transform it into a functional crystal ball. It unlocks granular insights about true profitability, optimizes resource allocation, and actually predicts the statistical outcomes of the legal work itself.
The overarching lesson here is the absolute necessity of challenging structural assumptions within any organization.
Yes.
Just because a department, a workflow, or a capability has historically been categorized as a cost center does not mean it is destined to remain one.
The world changes.
Exactly. The technological capabilities have evolved exponentially, and therefore the business model must evolve to harness them.
And this is exactly why this deep dive matters directly to you listening right now. Whether you are actively managing a law firm, prepping for a corporate strategy meeting in a totally different industry, or you are just someone fascinated by how modern business operations actually scale.
It applies everywhere.
The lesson is universal. The way you categorize your resources dictates your ceiling for success. Treating technology as a strategic asset rather than a necessary burden completely changes what your organization is capable of achieving.
It does. This raises an important question, however, and it's something I think is worth considering deeply as we look toward the future of professional services.
Okay, I'm listening.
We discussed how leveraging data analytics allows firms to predict case outcomes with statistical accuracy.
Right, the crystal ball.
If we project that capability forward, as these AI-powered predictive models become even more sophisticated and ubiquitous, I mean, think about it. If law firms successfully use data analytics to accurately predict exactly how a case will end before it even begins, how will that change the very nature of the cases lawyers choose to take on?
Oh, wow.
If you know the exact statistical probability of a win or a loss before you engage, will the pursuit of justice eventually be dictated purely by algorithmic win rates?
That's a terrifying thought.
Will difficult, novel, or culturally important cases that challenge existing precedents be abandoned simply because the predictive analytics flag them as a statistical risk to the firm's newly optimized profit margins?
That is a remarkably heavy question to leave on. I mean, if we let the algorithm dictate our battles to perfectly optimize the business, who takes the cases that the machine says we will lose?
Exactly.
The technology optimizes the profit, but does it optimize the justice system? That is something to think about the next time you look at an IT budget and wonder what it is really buying you. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. We will see you next time.